Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you are about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. This week's video is once again a return to the wrestling match and moments Iceberg. And yeah, this misspelling is still annoying me. And I have checked, there are a few more misspelled portions in the part of the video, in the part of the iceberg we're going to talk about in this video. Tier 4. Pretty controversial. I think I've already explained both how both how iceberg charts typically work and also how I want to do videos within the series, so I don't think I need to explain it any further. Let's just get it started. 1997 Survivor Series, Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels. This one is a little bit more this one is a little bit more infamous, so it's kind of surprising it's just at tier 4, but maybe it's down here because it fits the heading the best. What happened is that these two guys, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, had a huge rivalry and very heated one, not just in ring, but also in the backstage, where basically Shawn Michaels was kind of a diva prima donna, and Bret Hart was just kind of a focused go-getter who just wanted to, put on good matches. And what makes the situation that a little bit more volatile is that Bret Hart, at the time Survivor Series rolled around, had a contract that was expiring, and it was and the leadership of the at the time WWF wanted to make sure that Bret Hart doesn't take the WWF Championship, which he held, with him to the rival promotion, and that's why. Compounding that, the Survivor Series took place in Montreal, which was Bret Hart's hometown, and Bret Hart didn't want to lose to his hometown crowd. So for that reason, Vince McMahon, the boss of the WWF, told him, "Look, you're not gonna lose your title in front of your hometown crowd. I can promise you that if you'll promise to have a few more matches with me or with my company after that Survivor Series match." Bret Hart said he would have those matches, those matches that were technically outside of his contract, so he could drop his title at some point, after his match in his hometown. However, there was still a little bit of a mistrust concerning whether or not Bret Hart would actually do that. So instead, it was arranged that Bret Hart would get screwed during that match. What does it mean? It means that he would lose this match, even though he didn't actually, tap out or in any way surrender or be defeated. And yeah, for this reason, I think it's pretty well placed over here. New Jack versus Vic Grimes 1 and 2. New Jack versus Red Hunter, stabbing incident, and New Jack versus Gypsy Joe. I know these are technically free entries, but what I have to say about one of them can be said about all three of them. So I'm just gonna group all of them here together. And you might notice one thing they all have in common is that they all feature New Jack, who was because I think he died last year. Who was just kind of a very crazy wrestler and performer, and he was known for doing some really wild, really unpleasant stuff, both in ring and also behind the scenes. He was like, there are stories about wrestlers who are unstable, and that kind of helps build their aura in a sense. Not all of them are not all of them are correct, really, as in all of them might have some kernel of exaggeration, but with New Jack it's really hard to tell what is and isn't exaggeration. So yeah, he was kind of a loose cannon, and he's been involved in some really in some really weird and really wild and really uh, and really bloody and gory things that really stop being entertaining and we're just about oh let's and we're just about hurting his opponent. So yeah, Mankind versus The Undertaker, Hell in a Cell match. This match was uh, freaking crazy. I don't think I've seen all of it, but I think everyone knows the highlights. I'm not gonna go into who Mankind and The Undertaker were. If you've seen any of my other videos with this Iceberg, then you'll have noticed that they featured quite a bit. They also had a few matches against each other. The most notorious of which was a Hell in a Cell match, which resulted in Mankind injuring himself a lot, and therefore, and in the process, also making himself much more noticeable. First of all, by falling off the titular Hell in a Cell, or Hell in a Cell structure. Secondly, when he fell through the roof, so he first fell off of it, then he fell through it, and funnily enough, neither of these two were the finishing spot of the match. And in fact, the Undertaker was pretty sure that Mankind died at least once during that match. But surprisingly, not only did he not, he also had quite a prolific career afterwards, which is quite impressive once you actually recall what it was he's been through. Vince McMahon saying the N-word to John Cena. I'm not gonna go into who John Cena is or who Vince McMahon is. I think I already mentioned him here as the chief of as the boss of the WWF. This was after they renamed themselves into the WWE, and John Cena at the time I think he was an up and coming star who had the gimmick of being a rapper, and Vince McMahon thought he would be cool if he said the N word to him. Thing is, an actual black guy was around and was like, wait, what? Yeah, it was obviously meant to be some really cheap joke about how he is out of touch, but it really didn't work. Mass transit incident. Who avoid this one? Well, to explain this one, we'll have to go to the land of hardcore, ECW, in 1997 or 98. And there was a wrestler who issued an open challenge to anyone within the audience. If they wanted to wrestle him, they should just come out. And one particular guy who was over 6 feet and over 200 pounds stepped up, said his name was Mass Transit, and said he wanted to do a match. Thing is, the match went through, and in that match, Mass Transit was hurt really, really freaking bad. And then it was revealed that he actually lied about being over 18. So, yeah, not a good look for the not a good look for the land of extreme. I think they actually had to go to court because this particular incident led to them getting sued. And also a 17-year-old got crippled. Not a good look. Mae Young gave birth to a hand. The sidebar image, just in case you're curious. Mae Young was a female wrestler who was particularly well known for still performing even when she was already at a pretty advanced age. So we're talking around mid 60s, I'll say, or maybe even older. And at the time, she had and around the time this moment occurred, she had an affair with a wrestler whose nickname was Sexual Chocolate. So yeah, there was I don't know if you've heard that horn, but doesn't matter. Uh, so, as I was saying, Mae Young had an affair with a wrestler called Sexual Chocolate, and it was hinted that they did the nasty together. And the nasty resulted in Mae Young being pregnant, even though she was even though she was an old lady. Fast forward some time, I think a week or two, Mae Young was slammed through a table, and the incident led to her uh, prematurely, spontaneously going into labor. And when she was brought backstage and gave birth, she gave birth to a hand. That's not how pregnancy works, but whatever. The craziest thing about this is that about uh, 20 years after this particular incident, the hand came back, as in the hand had an appearance at a backstage show, and it was just some guy wearing a huge hand costume. Like, yeah, this particular angle went from controversial to absolutely ridiculous. uh, anyway, moving on. Michael Elgin incident. I admit I am not particularly well versed with Michael Elgin's backstage reputation. I know it was somewhat tainted by the Speak Out controversy, which was basically pro wrestling's Me Too movement. But I think this particular incident predates that. Might still be within that. Might still be about that. But it is. But it. I think it involves a case where Michael Elgin was actually innocent and was wrongfully accused. Oh well, shit happens. Dark Side of the Ring. Yeah, Dark Side of the Ring was a series of actually is a series of documentaries about various pro wrestling stars who have some controversial reputations. And within these and these documentaries were somewhat controversial in and of themselves because they didn't really show the whole story. They rather showed something that was they tended to show something that was either the most accepted version of events, which might not exactly be the true story, or they showed a version that was highly sympathetic to one particular party, which would benefit from it more than anyone else, for a variety of reasons. Anyway, I'm not too much at a liberty to discuss that because I because I can't really say for sure. All I know is that the Dark Side of the Ring reveals some uh, some uh, pretty messed up things about a whole bunch of people, and also maybe not in the most elegant way that these reveals could have occurred. Kazuchika Okada versus Katsuyori Shibata. Shibata last match. Or rather, at the time, it was Shibata's last match, but I think he has since been medically cleared to compete again. However, for a few years, this match was actually Katsuyori Shibata's last. I don't exactly remember the Sakura Genesis. Sakura Genesis 2017 was when this match occurred between Katsuyori Shibata, the challenger, the winner of the New Japan Cup, and Kazuchika Okada, the holder of the IWGP Championship, New Japan Pro Wrestling's top title. During this match, Katsuyori Shibata suffered a concussion, which led to him at least for a while, retiring. However, it only became clear that it wasn't just it wasn't unfortunate. It was kind of a messy affair, and it wasn't a clean break. It actually, the match actually ended with Shibata bleeding from his head, and the thing is, he didn't cut himself or anything. It was through blunt force trauma from a headbutt. So there were a lot of fears going into going into the initial diagnosis. So yeah, pretty controversial, all in all. Beyond the mat. Beyond the mat, just like the Dark Side of the Ring is. I don't know why I say was. Maybe it's because I'm used to talking about all these other things in the past. Beyond the Mat is another series of documentaries. This one and this one about uh, more about the private lives of existing stars and how they struggle with the various challenges that have been brought before them. I assume I haven't really I'm not really that well versed on that well versed on it. I assume that after Dark Side of the Ring, Beyond the Mat, which basically did the same thing, was not exactly that interesting anymore because it didn't really add anything or bring any variety to it. NJPW and WCW Collision in Korea 1995. Oh, this one's juicy. Um, this Collision in Korea was a show hosted by both NJPW and WCW together, and it was hosted in North Korea. So not South Korea, North Korea. It's part of a larger festival about sports and international cooperation that North Korea tried to put on. And these were the two wrestling companies they found that would also perform at the show. As far as I've been able to ascertain, and I think I've actually seen this once, the show itself was actually pretty good, but it's just the venue itself that was somewhat controversial. You might find it discussed in terms of this being the show that had the largest attendance numbers in history. But truth be told, given a lot of that attendance was compelled, that's not that impressive. Gaia Girls documentary. Yeah. Once again, sorry, I have no clue what this thing was about. I assume it's another Dark Side of the Ring kind of affair, only instead focused on female wrestlers. So yeah, let's just say it exists and was not exactly it was neither truthful and was maybe untruthful and maybe not particularly flattering. WCW Robin Hood incident started a downfall for WCW. Let's see. Okay, that's nothing. Again, I can't really say what this what this really is supposed to be. But given it's supposed to be the start of the downfall, it's admittedly not something that it's admittedly not something they're particularly proud of. It might actually be some, but again, I can't really give any details because I didn't research it. Maybe I should, but honestly, I thought part of the appeal of this would be to just show how much I already know about it. Maybe someday I'll do this video with another Iceberg, and I'll actually do some research. And last but not least, Masahiko Kimura versus Riki Dozan, 1954. I think this was again again this is something I go in knowing quite little, but I do recognize the name Riki Dozan. He was one of Japan's first pro wrestlers, because back when it was back in the post-war age when it became Americanized or westernized, it adopted a lot of things. Japan adopted a lot of things from the Americans, including pro wrestling in its incipient stages. And Masahiko Kimura versus Riki Dozan would have been probably one of the first pro wrestling matches of any kind in Japan. And I assume it's here because because the content of the match, as in what's going on, is quite unsavory when compared to what modern audiences would associate. But given it didn't kill the sport in Japan, its damage is ultimately quite minimal, I would say. And yeah, this has been tier 4 of the pro wrestling matches and moments iceberg. Pretty controversial. I thank you for your attention. Stick around next time when I'll be looking at the borderline bad and laughable, tier 5. Until then, however, I once again thank you for watching and ask you to leave the video a like if you've enjoyed it, and then maybe even share it wherever you think other people will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to add to any part of what I said that you disagree with, well then the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, all I can say is please subscribe. Ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about more bookish or literature topics overall, which is linked in the description below right past my social media, which I also suggest you check out. The social media and the YouTube channel. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.